So 30 years ago, a 1953 Bolens Power Ho was forgotten and pushed off to the side into a blackberry bramble. Now, we're trying to get it running again. If you remember back in the last video, I broke this, but it doesn't seem too broken now, does it? I'll go through how I fix it here in a second, but I think I figured out our spark issue. So we're gonna go down to the parts store real quick, grab some things that'll make our lives just a little bit easier, and then see if we can't get this, almost 70-year-old, over 70-year-old garden tractor running again. All right, well, I've got the part. Now we can go back to the garage and install the part. And then, just maybe, this little thing will run again. But I don't know. That's the question. Will it run? We're not gonna stop trying. So, anyway, I will meet you all right back at the garage after I take a little cruise. In the last video, I had made a big accident. I was doing something I probably shouldn't have and ended up with the consequences, but I have a remedy for it. So on this part of the engine, you'll see that something is missing. That's where our little dealio is supposed to go for a pull cord, right? This little piece here in my hand is the rest of the crankshaft that sheared right off. When I was putting it all back together in the last video, I had gone a little too tight when I was using the Milwaukee Impact to put this all together. And so that meant I couldn't put all this together with the fastener, which also means that I wouldn't be able to start it. Now, I went through all kinds of different ideas, all kinds of different thoughts, pulling off of this, but the planetary gear set here makes it way too hard to spin over. And I thought about tearing the whole motor apart and welding this little guy back on, putting it on the lathe, redoing the whole thing. And I was just like, that's a lot of work to do for this particular machine. So, here's where my idea is. So, there were enough threads on here to keep the flywheel on. And so when I put that on there, I tightened this down really, really tight and then got whatever was left of the shaft here, the stud, and threaded it in. That then created just enough sticking out that I could put the pulley back on and then get a nut to fasten onto that. It only made it come out just a little bit further than stock, but it does make it to where I can turn the engine over again, which means hopefully crisis averted. Which means we can move on to figure out why we're not getting any spark from the spark plug. Now we got plenty of spark from our spark plug wire, but we're gonna take this whole panel off. We're gonna look to see if we've got any points that need to be cleaned up. We're gonna change out the spark plug. That's what we went to the parts store for. And then put it back together, clean the carburetor so we can get that just out of the way. And let's see if it starts. Oh my. Well, I think we might have found a little bit of our problem. So right here, this is our little magneto system here, our little coil and our coil wire. But all of this right here is where it's like a magnet. It's magnetic. See? And that spinning across this coil generates electricity, which then creates the spark in the spark plug. But as you can see, that is really, really, really rusty. And that ain't gonna be doing anybody any good. And I think the reason why we're getting spark is because I'm spinning it fast enough that the spots that are exposed are getting, you know, enough contact. But that could be one of our major issues. I think I'm gonna start cleaning up all of this. What we're looking at right here is our coil, points, and condenser. I went ahead and decided I was going to take the coil off because of how rusty our magneto flywheel situation was. If that was rusty, these contacts right here were definitely rusty, and I'll go through why that's important here in a second. But this also gives us an opportunity to take a look at our points. These points right here, these contacts, these are very important to the running of the engine as well, and it looks like they might be a little bit corroded. So we'll go ahead and sand those down, file them, check the gap, and we know our coil works, we know our condenser works, we know there's something going on here because I shocked the crap out of myself in the last video when I had it at higher RPM. But we need that amount of electricity where we're just pulling it over by hand, not with the impact, because, well, that's what happens. So anyway, apart from that, I've got the spark plug replaced. That is done. We've got the right spark plug for the right engine, numbers matching, all that, you know, brand new from the parts store. So that should be, we can cross that off the list. Now, once we get this crossed off the list, we can move to the carburetor. And hopefully this thing will run and run pretty decently. So let's go ahead and get this all put out on the bench. We'll figure out what we've got here. We'll get things cleaned up, get it all put back together. Hopefully we'll have a good amount of spark by then. But if you have a Bolens Power Ho and you know where to get parts for your Bolens Power Ho, put that down in the comments below so that I know if I have to get parts for this thing, which I'm hoping I won't have to, but with how old everything is on this little thing, I mean, we've got super old wires on that. I'm really hoping I'm not going to break anything on the coil. You guys got to look at this coil wire. Look at this thing. Look at them. One little mistake I could make and the whole thing could just go downhill. So I need to know where to buy parts. So if you know where to get parts for these little Bolens Power Hos, please let me know, because it's not easy. I definitely can say it is not easy. So we might have to buy a coil, might have to buy a condenser, might have to buy some points for it. So let me know. Let's get back to work though. So as I suspected, the coil was just as rusty as the flywheel magneto situation. Look at that. I mean, that is outrageous, especially that centerpiece. I can see where on the sides we could get a little bit of spark out of it, but I'm surprised we even got spark out of it at all with how rusty and dirty that is. Those contacts, especially this guy right here, our points. This alone, I mean, how? Look at the crud on these contacts. The crystallization alone, I mean, there's nothing shiny there. There's no surface. So it's like, how are we even getting spark off of this? That's what I'm surprised of. So we'll go ahead and file this down, make it shiny, and we'll do the same for the coil. But I also took the opportunity to clean this guy right here. This is the flywheel magneto situation. Before, it was all rusty like this. Could barely even see that there was any magnets here. And now it's all nice and shiny. And I went ahead and just did it all the way around where the coil rests. That way it's just all nice and smooth and clean. Might even clean this up a little bit. So, but in any case, this is ready to go on, and we can continue moving forward on getting this all cleaned up. Okay, so we've got the points cleaned up, all nice and shiny, like they're brand new again. Got the coil all cleaned up, all the contact surfaces, as well as this spot right here, right where that grounding wire connects to the coil and then where the screw will go through. And I just did that just to make sure. Now we can cross our T's and dot all our I's. But we're now ready to assemble all of this back onto our machine. Then we can put it all this back together and move on. Hopefully this will remedy our sparklation issue and we'll be able to get this thing to spark when we just turn it over. Hopefully everything can go off without a hitch. But I'm thinking we're going to need to do something with that carburetor, because with how gummed up this was, gummed up that was, and just the overall state of the engine, I think we're going to need to clean the carburetor. So I thought I'd take that plate off, right, and get it cleaned up, since everything else we've got is cleaned. And it just seemed wrong to leave that as all dirty and oily and everything like that. And so when I took that off, I got curious and looked inside the crankcase, and I've made another discovery. So if you look in here, what do you see? Does something look like it shouldn't be the way that it is? Is something missing from this picture? If you guessed that the cam gear is missing a tooth, then you get a gold star, because you would be 100% correct. It is missing a tooth. That might be why this thing was parked and left in a bramble for 30 years. Because if the gear broke, as you saw it is broken, and it skipped time, then this thing will never run. Because then the valves will not open when they're supposed to, which is the whole point of having your engine in time. But we're going to go with that it is in time, and we're going to keep moving forward, and we're going to get this little thing to run regardless. We'll put it back together, put that plate back on, put all the electronics back in it, we'll clean the carburetor, and we will continue moving forward as if we didn't even see that. Because the only reason why I know that the cam gear, and the only reason why you know that the cam gear is broken, is because I got curious and I wanted to see inside the crankcase. I am bummed. It's a bummer when things like this happen. It really makes you want to rethink your life decisions on whether or not you want to continue forth making this little engine run. But we don't give up here. We don't ever give up here. Everything has a capability of coming back to life. It's just that it might only run for 5 seconds, but we will have made it run again. And then we'll just have to find new parts and put it all back together. But in any case, we'll keep it in mind. You never know. It might surprise us. Most of the time it doesn't, and it just breaks immediately, and then you've got a broken engine and another piece of yard ornament sitting around your property. And then apart from that, we're not going to let this stop us. This isn't anything to be scared of. It's a bummer. It's a bummer. Sometimes it can be an expensive bummer. Other times it's a cheap bummer. Sometimes it's a bummer that you can't find parts for. But in any case, let's get this thing put back together and we'll go from there. So we've got everything reassembled on the Power Ho, and we've got everything clean. We can check the electrical system off as a potential problem keeping us from making this little thing run. Now, we did find that really big bummer inside the engine, that cam gear missing a tooth. But I'm not gonna let that stop this revival. We're still gonna revive this little thing. We're gonna try to get it running again. And once we get it running, we can start exploring on maybe repairing what we've got in there, getting new parts, or just getting a whole new motor for it. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to revive the Bolens Power Ho, not so much the engine. We just want to make it run again, keep it on out there, because you don't see many of these around anymore. You just don't. A lot of times they're yard ornaments when you do find them, but this one can't be a yard ornament because it's got some work to do still. So 30 years later, we're going to put it to work, and that is our goal, is to put this little thing to work. But anyway, I took the carburetor off because we've cleaned everything else. We may as well clean this guy too. And I mean, with how dirty it is, it does look pretty clean on the inside, but it sat for 30 years. So we're gonna wanna go through that and clean it up. But you'll have to wait for all that in the next video. So I wanna thank you so much for stopping by the garage today and for watching the video. Make sure you go and check out some of the other revivals on this channel. I revive anything with an engine. It doesn't matter what it is. I also got to do it on a budget too, because that's what makes it even more fun. When you're able to pick stuff up like this little thing right here and then get it running for little to nothing, that makes it all much more rewarding. But anyway, oh, before I forget, if you're a podcast listener or watcher, the podcast has been moved off of this channel, the home channel, to its own separate channel, and it's just the Garage R&R podcast. It's the same as it was before. Right now, I am uploading all of the episodes that happened before. That way we can build some traction again on the podcast since it's on its own new channel now. So the podcast hasn't gone anywhere. So make sure you go and subscribe and like those videos so we can keep making some fun content on the podcast as well. But anyway, I want to thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share this video with a friend. Let's grow the fold. Let's bring more people in. And comment where you're watching from, you know. And especially, if you have a Bolens Power Ho and you know where to get parts for it, because we definitely need some, type that down in the comments. Where would I get parts for a 1953 Bolens Power Ho with a Briggs & Stratton Model B engine? That's all the information I know about it right now. So anyway, I will see you all right back here in the garage in the next video.